Okay, this is something I found the other day. It's called a Remember When book, a nostalgic look back in time. And this is for the year 1962, which is the year I was born. But even then, I don't remember a lot of this stuff. I remember it after the fact. So we'll go through it. It says, the richness of life lies in the memories we have forgotten, or that we just need to remember again. I'll try to lift this up. One of the memories I have is always, if I smell fresh cut grass, it brings back memories of my dad cutting the lawn on a summer day, and me just being a young girl outside playing. Always does. And of course, certain foods remind us of Christmas. This is a Western Electric. I don't know what that is. Some kind of board, computer chip board. And over here it's a timeline of 1962. Let's see if we can focus in on it. Okay, Jackie Robinson was elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame in January. Still wasn't born then. 8 of 9 planets aligned for the first time in 400 years. You know, it seems like every year something is happening in space that hasn't happened in like 400 years. The U.S. Air Force researches at the use of lasers to intercept missiles and satellites. Wow. There wasn't even color TV yet, and we had lasers. That just shows you where the government's interests lie. Not a bad thing, it's just that, come on. We didn't even use seatbelts back then. The first baseball game is played at LA's Dodger Stadium. Jimmy Hoffa. My dad loved Jimmy Hoffa. He was indicted for illegally accepting $1 million from a Detroit truck line. I'm going to tell you something about Jimmy Hoffa. My dad was a trucker for a lumber yard, and there's all these stories about Jimmy Hoffa being, of course he was kidnapped, and then what happened to him is a mystery. It was said his body was ground up like meat and thrown into a lake. Someone says it's under a stadium, like a Dodge Stadium, but wherever he was at the time, I believe it was Michigan. And he was under first base, buried under first base. Who knows? Those are one of the mysteries that will be revealed when we get to heaven. There are so many mysteries that we'll find out someday. 3 convicts dig their way out of Alcatraz with spoons. Our police system, our law enforcement system was slack then, and they are slack now. All you need is a spoon, for real. Anyways, I was born in June. The House passes a bill for equal pay regardless of sex. Yeah, right. They are still debating that to this day, that women do not get paid equal pay as men do. If you do the same job at the same pace, you need equal pay. But I remember many years ago working, I'm a nurse now, retired nurse, but I remember working at a Kmart, and any heavy lifting, they would tell us to go get the men to do it. And to me, if you have to go get a man to help you do your job, to lift something, he deserves that extra pay. But other than that, if you're doing the exact same job and you can pull your weight, then you deserve the pay. Marilyn Monroe commits suicide. Not sure about the suicide part. I'd like to think it's a conspiracy and it was a murder. For so many reasons. Same as Jimmy Hoffa. They said they're oh my gosh, look at, they're right above. They say the same people that killed Jimmy Hoffa killed Marilyn Monroe. And that, of course, was JFK. I'm trying to think of the name of that president. Kennedy's. He insulted Robert Kennedy at one time, and it was reported that he picked Robert Kennedy up by his neck because he kept Jimmy Hoffa waiting for like 45 minutes for a meeting. Don't know if that's true. Then we got, let's see, I'm trying to look at this on my thing. ABC's first color TV episodes, The Jetsons. Meet the Jetsons. Here's George Jetson, his boy Roy. Anyways, it was a cartoon show. Jimmy Carson hosts the first Tonight Show with Joan Crawford is one of his guests. Oh boy. You know Mommy Dearest? Joan Crawford. Then there is 4 men enter a recording studio, record the first album under the name The Beatles. I don't know, I was never a big fan. 114-day newspaper strike begins in New York. New York. Wow, that'll tell you something right there. And then we move on. We've got 1962 World News. October, USA and USSR Russia face major confrontation as they move offensive nuclear missiles into Cuba. Wow. Things haven't changed, have they? We got some countries gaining their independence, Jamaica, Trinidad, Uganda, etc. Brazil wins the World Cup soccer tournament, and that was in Santiago, Chile. Israel hangs Adolf Eichmann. Always something. And you know, over the years, no one knows who that is, or the generation, you know, they don't know who it is or why he was hung or anything like that. And nowadays they would probably just put him into a peaceful deep sleep and kill him humanely. Alright, that's another subject. The U.S. loans $100 million to the United Nations to help its financial crisis. The U.S. commitment to Vietnam grows and it's increased to 8,000 men. Oh wow, that's nothing. President Kennedy gives orders to U.S. troops to fire on the Viet Cong if they encounter hostile fire. Okay. And let's see. Over here it says Polaris Type Minutemen. Don't know what that's about, but it's got something to do with spaceships, rockets. This is all illegible printing here. But it shows you that, I mean, our weaponry was so advanced, and yet average life still was watching TV, watching the Jetsons in color for the first time. And you'll see that how things progress. National news. John Glenn becomes the first American to orbit Earth. There we go. Congress creates COMSAT to regulate commercial satellites. Transatlantic telecast. Marilyn Monroe dies and is eulogized as a legend in her own time. I will grant her that. She probably was. And still is. Oh, I was never a big fan of Andy Warhol. He just took a Campbell's soup can and distorted the colors. Big deal. Yeah, not a big fan. And like I said, his stuff today, kids today don't even know who he is. The first tab top can is test marketed. That's I'll tell you why I remember that. I mean, I wasn't even 6 months old by this time, but many years, I was probably about 7. And I was walking to the 7-Eleven with my sister to get a Slurpee. And on the way there, this whole field that we passed was full of junk, and most of it was can tops. And you could easily cut yourself and we always walked barefoot back then. So you had to go walk in the street and walk around that field so you wouldn't get cut. So once they made the top can that was actually attached to the can and stayed attached, that was a big deal. We were all like, oh wow, this is cool. 90% of the United States household have one television set. Yep, my mom said she was 17 years old when her mom and dad bought their first television. And she, her and her friend, she was the only one that had a television set. So they all came over to watch TV at her house. Kmart and Walmart opened their first stores. Look how Kmart's listed first, but it was overtaken by Walmart. Okay, 1962, it says television favorites, the Beverly Hillbillies. Yep, I remember that. Can't remember the song. Something about a man named Jeb, poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed. Ben Casey, don't really know that. I believe that was, it should say Ben Casey, MD. I believe that was about a medical doctor and things that happened. Dick Van Dyke Show. Wasn't crazy about the show, but that was the only thing we got in on TV. There was only 4 channels. That was one of them. So, and then Kraft Jam. I didn't grow up on peanut butter and jelly. Don't know why. My mom just never bought peanut butter and jelly, very rarely. So I wasn't a big fan of it. But I sure am now. Sports news. World Series champion, New York Yankees. U.S. Open, Jack Nicklaus. Let's see if I can get this camera over it. Pro football champions, Dallas, Texas, and Green Bay Packers. Indianapolis 500 winner, Roger Ward. He went 140 miles per hour. And a little plus. Stanley Cup winner, Toronto Maple Leafs. NCAA basketball champion, Cincinnati. What do you know? College football champion, USC. Heisman Trophy winner, Terry Baker from Oregon State. This says, remember when playing in Hershey's, Pennsylvania, Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points on the 36 field goals, 28 free throws, leading the Philadelphia Warriors to a 169-147 win over the New York Knicks. Not a big sports person. Sporty performer with 185 HPs, Cutlass V8 action. And this is the old Cutlass. Yeah. No bucket seats. And I remember back in the day, we'd go on long rides and we would just lay down in the back seat, no seat belts, just take a nap. Actually laid on the floor a couple times, curled up in the little footrest down there. Heck, you could even sit in your dad's lap while he was driving. It didn't matter. My mom and dad, one of the cars I do remember, they had an Impala and a Nova. And here we go with the Kennedys. President John F. Kennedy, Vice President Lyndon Johnson. So focus in on that. There we go. Pulitzer Prize winner, The Edge of Sadness by Irwin O'Connor. I'm sorry about my camera not actually focusing in on where I'm reading because it doesn't have it's a GoPro, and I've told you how I hate GoPros because you can't zoom in or zoom out. But anyways, Nobel Prize winner Linus Carl Pauling, Miss America. I actually looked her up, Maria Fletcher. Her face is so sweet looking back then. She looked just gorgeous, very virtuous, very modest in apparel. Nothing like today. I mean, she had modest makeup on. Oh, you got to go look her up. What a beauty she was. Speaker of the House, Sam T. Rayburn. Life expectancy, I like this, 69.7 years. Now, my dad died when he was 65, but my mom is still alive. She's 75. And my grandma lived to only be about 72, which today is considered quite young. And then we got another one, California. After losing California election, Richard Nixon told the press, "You won't have Nixon to kick around anymore because, gentlemen, this is my last press conference." What was it? Growing Pains, I think, was a show where Alex loved Nixon. He was a Nixon guy. It was his hero or whatever. One of the very first underwear ads, bras, brasiers. I dreamed I took the bull by the horns in my maiden form bra. She's kind of wearing a very long skirt, and she has a wraparound hair all done up, little daisies in her hair. Well, what the heck the bull has to do with it? It's beyond me. Sometimes the ads in this book are even better than the statistics. The swinginest Elvis. Girls plus plus songs, lots of them. Who could ask for anything more? Well, Elvis Presley, Hal Willis, Girls. And in this movie, there are 13 of the coolest songs. Oh, wait, that's on his album. The RCA's Fabulous Girls album. And that starred Stella Stevens. Love it. Cost of Living. Oh my gosh, this one's good. Let me see if I can focus in better. A new house was only a little over $12,000. Amazing. That's amazing. But then again, I mean, look at the average income, just over, $5,500. That ain't nothing. New car, almost $3,000. Average rent, $110 per month. You think it was the good old days. It's not. If you look at how much you made, people back then were barely scraping by. Okay, tuition at Harvard was $1,500 per year. I got to tell you, I looked that up. It's now $43,000 per year. And if you want a dorm room plus your utilities, you can tack on another $20,000. So it's $63,000 per year. Movie tickets, $1. Gasoline, 28 cents per gallon. U.S. postage, 4 cents. This one I found interesting. Granulated sugar, it was 89 cents for 10 pounds. Who buys 10 pounds of sugar? Vitamin D milk, $1.04 a gallon. Ground coffee, 85 cents a pound. Bacon, 69 cents a pound. Eggs, fresh ground hamburger, etc., etc. Bread. It's funny, my grandma had always made her own bread because they didn't have baked bread that you bought in the store. You had to make your own. So for her, she loved buying a loaf of bread because it saved her so much time. For her, that 21 cents was worth it. Notable births. Jim Carrey, January 17, 1962, so he's 55. Demi Moore, 55, and Garth Brooks. And I didn't know this about Garth Brooks because I'm not a real big Garth Brooks fan, but they're their faces. Garth has sold more albums than Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, or the Beatles. Try to zoom in. I don't know. I know one or two of his songs, but that's it. Demi Moore looks great there. Jim Carrey actually looks handsome. Doesn't look like a goofball. And then some other people. Sheryl Crow, Matthew Broderick, Rosie O'Donnell, Ali Sheedy, and Roger Clemens. I guess he is a baseball player. And then over here, a Renault vehicle. I don't know why, they always look square, small and square, like you had to squeeze into them. Says it's $13.95 west of the Atlantic. See if I can get that in here. I don't know about that. Like a little Yugo of its day. One of the best films, Lawrence of Arabia. Never watched it. Heard of it, of course, but I've never watched it. Had Alec Guinness in it, Anthony Quinn, Anthony Quayle, Peter O'Toole as Lawrence, Omar Sharif too. Now the songs, I don't know why back then in the 60s, 70s, music is what you remember from it all. But okay, the music, Big Girls Don't Cry by the Four Seasons, I remember that. Breaking Up Is Hard to Do, Neil Sedaka. What an amazing voice he had. He kind of had a voice like a woman, but yeah, it was a strange voice, very neat, very cool. Duke of Earl, I remember that. Good Luck Charm, Elvis Presley, He's a Rebel. Hey Baby, I Can't Stop Loving You, Johnny Angel, Locomotion, hated that song. They were still playing that song in junior high school, couldn't stand it. Mashed Potato Time, and I think I just got sick of it. Movies, I looked at these movies, I've never seen one of them. Lawrence of Arabia, To Kill a Mockingbird, Dr. No, Lolita, Cape Fear, and The Music Man. Yes, I've heard of all of them, but I have not watched any of them. Here are just some more vehicles. It says vacation or vacation. No, it says vocation or vacation, whatever. Take It Easy in the Scout by International. So we got a little blue one up here. Like I said, they all look small and boxy. And then the truck. I loved this ad right here. This is Hudson's Living Orchid and Hudson's French Hyacinth. And it was just dyed, tinted, what they call tinted matching toilet paper and tissues. Good heavens, my parents were barely scraping by. Lucky if we could afford white toilet paper. And forget Kleenex. You want to blow your nose, you've got toilet paper and you blow your nose with that. But look at on the next page. Oh my gosh, it's a computer. What the heck? Detroit Teachers Credit Union has the world's largest. Why we chose the NCR 390 computer. Well, first of all, that thing is huge. It's not just the one in front of her desk that she's sitting at. Look at the back wall. Main drive. Oh my gosh, it's huge. I don't know where they had that, but that was crazy. I mean, to see colored toilet paper, and then they go from that to computers. boxy cars over to computers. And this is a calendar, and if you're born in 1962, you can actually look up and see what day you were born. So I was born in June, and I was born on a Friday. And my mom was telling me back in the day, they drugged you practically. And she said she doesn't remember any of the births or anything. She said they went in, they put an IV in you and put some drugs in you, and you woke up the next day, boom, their baby. That is just so funny. There's a place in the back for notes. I didn't write any, because if you're born in this year, I mean, you're not going to have anything really related to that year, but, you know, childhood memories you could write. And it says, take a look back at the 1962 cardlet and remember when. And it tells you famous births, timelines, much, much more. And this one was given to me by my mom and my sister, Joanna. And I love all this stuff in here, and just look through it. I remember going to a Mexican place to eat. We didn't eat out much back then, but I was like 20 years old, and there was a jukebox there, and it had a Madonna song on it. And I put in some money and played a Madonna song. And she's older than I am, so, oh, good heavens, she's getting old. But that gives you an idea. We never drink soda at home. There was water, coffee, and milk. That was it. No pizzas, no burritos, none of that. So when we went to 7-Eleven, that's when you could get stuff that your mom never bought at the grocery store. In fact, potato chips are just something you ate once in a blue moon. But meals were meat and potato type meals. So anyways, I hope that helped. I hope it wasn't too bouncy around on the camera. But yeah, that's a look back. Remember when. I hope you had some good memories like I do. Bye-bye.